Ah man, this classic Streets of Rage music. What can I say about this series that hasn't already been said? The series was revolutionary for its gameplay as well as scenes, characters, bosses, you name it. Music was the most impressive part of the aspect, especially on the Sega Genesis. The first Streets of Rage actually came out in 1991, developed by Sega. The second happened to come out in 92, this time developed by Sega and Ancient Studios. Now this is the game I remember playing the most, because it came free with your Sega Genesis console at the time. Me and my brother would stay up hours playing, usually as Max or Skate or Axel. We hardly ever played Blaze, but sometimes we did. The third was developed in 1993, again by Ancient and Sega. Now this game was not as critically acclaimed as the first two, it was still fun to play, but it was kind of thought of as a rehash of the previous Streets of Rage game, most predominantly Part 2. The game did add a new feature to it besides new characters, and that meant having a story in the game. It was just more than just beating up people, even though there's a little cutscene in the beginning of the first two. But after Streets of Rage 3, the game series went dormant. People were wondering when's the new Streets of Rage coming out. Sega did give it a shot of trying to port over the series to Saturn, and then to Dreamcast, but nothing ever panned out. We had to wait an extra 25 years until even Streets of Rage 4 was announced, and then we had to wait 2 more years just to even get the game. So with that opening, was it worth the wait? Streets of Rage 4 was developed by Dementu, Lizard's Cube, and Guard Crush Games. It was released in April of 2020, 27 years after Streets of Rage 3. The game was released for the Xbox One, PS4, PC, and the Nintendo Switch. As in previous Street Fighter games, you have several characters to choose from. Some old, some new. Axel returns, Blaze returns, but you have new characters like Cherry, the daughter of Adam Hunter from the first Streets of Rage game. You also have a character called Floyd Errara, who's actually a cybernetic enhanced apprentice of Dr. Zan, who's from Streets of Rage 3. Floyd is also kind of modeled off of Max of Streets of Rage 2, so that's pretty cool to see. Another returning character is Adam from Streets of Rage 1. He's actually an unlockable character you get while you progress through the story. His design is actually pretty cool, and actually all the characters in the game are actually designed very well. The enemies are some familiar faces as well, such as Shin, the infamous Y Signal, and Donovan. They all return, but with new characters as well, such as Carmel, a version of Fog the biker, and Iron, a version of the bodyguards, or Gold. You also have some humor thrown in by developers, as some of the police characters such are named Murphy, which could be a play off RoboCop. It's also implied in the game they could also be the officers from the first Streets of Rage. Then you have Kyle, a guy who fights with his hands in his pockets and kicks the shit out of you. Kinda reminds you of Orange Cassidy. But there are 2 more characters in the game that probably are my favorites of all. There's a guy who looks like Paul Blart, only he's more muscular, as he is an officer. And then you have a guy who looks exactly like Commissioner Gordon. He's actually an in-game boss, and you actually fight him later in the game as well, which is actually kinda cool. Each character has their own strength and attack meters, similar to previous installments. A new feature added here is that you can change your character not only when you restart a level, but when you clear a level as well. So that's something that was pretty cool that was added. The game's story is set 10 years after the third game, when Mr. X was defeated. Wood Oak City falls under the new control of a syndicate led by his children, the Y Twins. I'm guessing the developers are kind of obsessed with the ABCs. And the grand plan of the Y Twins? How are they going to be able to take over a city that their father couldn't take over? Through music, through hypnotic music that's going to brainwash the public. The story is also told through cutscenes similar to Streets of Rage 3. However, these are much better looking and not as stock as the ones before. The first thing you'll notice in game about Streets of Rage 4 is the beautiful way it looks. I'm a big sucker for the comic book feel, and this game pulls it off correctly in my opinion. It's visually pleasing to look at, not too many dark spots, and vibrant colors throughout. Another aspect I really enjoy of the game, which I enjoy of all the Streets of Rage games in the series, maybe except Streets of Rage 3, is the soundtrack. Check it out. The gameplay has also had an improvement. The fight mechanics stay true to previous games along with throws, punches, aerial attacks, combinations, weapon attacks, and environmental attacks. It is much easier to pick up items as there's a designated button for it now, and gone are having to press the two buttons to throw items. You can just do that by pressing the directional pad and the pickup button. There also has been a change to special attacks. As with previous installments, special attacks do take some health away. However, in this new installment, you can regain it back by performing combos on opponents without being hit. Each character has two different special attacks, as before in the other games. Another cool feature to this game is the introduction of the super ability. It's represented by stars, and they can be found throughout the whole game. You start off by having one in your inventory at the start of each level, and other stars are hidden throughout the level, so it's always best to keep punching and kicking and slamming whatever you can around you to try to uncover those stars. Along with your health, represented by the common apple and turkey, also there is money you can get, which is something you're going to want to collect in this game. You start off with 2 lives, however to get more in the game as some levels are more difficult than others, you have to reach 8,000 points to earn an extra life. This saved me numerous times throughout the game, so it's a good idea to try and collect as much money as you can, as well as perform as many combos as you can, because that also adds to your score. The difficulty of the game varies. To be honest, some levels I breezed through and some I had to keep trying because I kept dying. The game does give you an out though. They give you several assists that can be added after the game over screen. But however, this can hurt your overall score. But it's something I like that they added. Previously, high scores were just for records, and although they are here as well, you want to get a higher score to your overall record to unlock several characters, such as different versions of Axel, Blaze, and even get to play as Max or Dr. Zan from their respective games. The difficulty to me is a little inconsistent as well in terms of boss battles. Some boss battles are kind of easy, then there are ones that are very difficult. I would like to have seen more of a gradual progression of difficulty in the boss battles. Streets of Rage 4 brought back a lot of nostalgia for me. The game was close to the original series in terms of story and gameplay. The music and the environments are great, the characters are fun to play and try. The story, however, is not as elaborate, but that is expected of a Streets of Rage game, and any beat 'em up for that matter. The game consists of 12 different stages, as well as other modes, so there's plenty of replay value, especially with getting those unlockables. After beating the game, you can unlock several new modes, as well as new art and character bios. A cool mode to play through is the boss battle mode, where you have 1 life and face several bosses old and new, so that's something to check out. The gameplay took about 2 hours to beat the game. The price of the game is also pretty decent since it's $24 right now. However, if you do have the Xbox Ultimate Pass, you can get the game for free. Unfortunately, I didn't know that, so I bought the game. So if you like the old school beat 'em ups, check out Streets of Rage 4. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.